What do you do when the storm inside your mind simply refuses to calm down? In our modern lives, we are constantly navigating a sea of pressures, work deadlines, a vague anxiety about the future, and, most taxing of all, the emotional weight that comes from our relationships. When someone treats us unjustly or says something hurtful, the resulting anger and resentment can feel like a heavy, immovable rock lodged inside us, persistently wearing us down. You lie in bed at night, and the scene replays, a rush of boiling blood taking over. I'm sure many of you have experienced this. Why did they do such a terrible thing to me? I can't focus on anything else because this anger won't leave. This fire of rage, instead of punishing the other person, ends up incinerating our own peace of mind. This video will share the wisdom of the Buddhist teachings, a quiet stream of water to extinguish that flame of anger. The Buddhist teachings are not some outdated philosophy. They are the most practical, deeply empathetic wisdom for easing your suffering right now, at this very moment, and reclaiming your mental freedom. By putting these teachings into practice, you stop letting past events or other people's behavior dictate your happiness. I urge you to open your heart and listen until the end. This teaching may be the key that unlocks the chains binding your mind. Long ago, in a small village in ancient India, lived a young man named Vima. Vima was diligent and kind-hearted, but one problem deeply troubled him: the humiliation and rage he felt after being publicly insulted by the village's influential landowner refused to leave his heart. Days after the incident, the landowner, mistaking a boundary dispute over Vima's small plot, had loudly berated him in front of many villagers, crushing his dignity. Vima couldn't defend himself, and from that night on, he was consumed by such intense anger and a feeling of powerlessness that he could barely eat. He felt as though he couldn't find a single moment of joy in his life, until that anger was gone. Weeks later, Vima visited Ashvin, the wise elder, who lived on the outskirts of the village and was widely respected. Ashvin always wore a gentle smile, and his eyes held a profound stillness. Vima, his voice trembling, recounted the whole ordeal through tears, pleading, "Wise one, I cannot forgive that man. This rage is eating me alive. How can I ever be free from this suffering?" The elder Ashvin listened quietly to Vima's entire account, then began to speak slowly. "Vima, your anger is understandable. It is proof that the pain you experienced was real. But consider this: if someone offered you a piece of rotten food, would you accept it?" Vima shook his head. "No, wise one, I would not." "Exactly," the sage continued. "The insults and the action the landowner threw at you are like that rotten food. They are poison created by his own mind, merely a reflection of his own suffering. If you do not accept that gift, to whom does the poison belong?" "It remains his own," Vima replied. The sage elaborated, "Precisely. Yet, the burning anger in your heart now is proof that you did accept that poisonous gift. And you are holding onto it dearly. As long as you cling to that anger, you are allowing the landowner's action, a past event, to control the peace of your mind and your future happiness in this very moment." His behavior ended in an instant. But in your heart, you keep replaying that anger, giving him continuous power over you. The sage's teaching resonated deeply with Vima. He knew he couldn't drop the anger immediately that day. But with the sage's words in his heart, he began a period of quiet self-reflection. For several days, during breaks from his farm work, and in the quiet of the night, Vima practiced the elder's teaching. The first thing he focused on was objectively observing his thoughts and feelings whenever the anger flared up, thinking, "Oh, I am about to accept the landowner's rotten gift again." He made a conscious effort to view the emotion as a phenomenon, maintaining a distance rather than being consumed by it. This was an early, simple form of the Buddhist practice of mindfulness. As he continued this practice, Vima began to experience a subtle shift. When anger arose, his mind was no longer instantly hijacked, and a slight gap formed between the emotion and himself. In that gap, he started training himself to consciously choose to not accept. The return of inner stillness had a surprising ripple effect on his surroundings. His calm and stable demeanor, reflected in his interactions with his family and other villagers. He became more patient and generous toward others, unlike before when he was easily irritated. He was no longer intimidated by the shadow of a past event, able to focus entirely on the people and work in front of him. Then, weeks later, a rumor spread through the village that the landowner himself had acknowledged his mistake. Vima, who might once have felt a surge of vindictive satisfaction, felt only quiet relief. This was because, regardless of the landowner's apology, Vima had already liberated himself from the prison of his own anger. His inner peace had become an unshakable foundation, independent of external events. The structure of the anger at disrespect that troubles us in modern society is exactly the same as the one Vima faced in ancient times. Why do we allow the actions of others to disturb our minds so profoundly? At the root of this, two core Buddhist teachings are deeply relevant: attachment, clinging, and impermanence, anicca. First, attachment: we cling tightly to fixed expectations. I should always be respected, or others ought to behave exactly as I expect them to. When someone disrespects us, our rage is fueled not just by their act, but by a strong resistance to the fact that our ideal worldview, our expectation, has been violated. We allow our sense of identity and worth to be dependent on external validation, specifically on how others treat us. This dependence is the wellspring of the suffering we call anger. Second, impermanence: the truth is that everything is constantly changing. The other person's anger or their disrespectful act was a single, temporary event, a phenomenon that arose and then faded. Yet, we take that temporary event and the resulting feeling, internalize it, rerun it repeatedly in our minds, and cling to it as if it were an eternal truth. The Buddhist teaching explicitly states that this clinging to fixed past emotions is the greatest enemy of present peace. The Buddhist teachings are essential for resolving these issues, because they teach us the ultimate truth: we suffer not because of external events, but because of the way our mind reacts to those events. The feeling of anger is not a tool for changing the other person. It is a precious opportunity for awakening, for us to change our own mind. We cannot choose whether or not a stone is thrown at us. But we absolutely have the freedom to choose not to pick up that stone and throw it at ourselves over and over again. The discovery of this freedom is the core of the Buddha's message, and the only logical pathway to calming the anger and suffering of modern people. So, how do we apply the Buddha's wisdom of not accepting the poisonous gift to the challenges of modern life? Whether it's an unreasonable reprimand from a boss, anonymous slander on social media, or a thoughtless comment from a family member, our minds are constantly exposed to disrespectful behavior. The first thing we must practice is creating a space between the event and our reaction. The moment a hurtful comment is made, our brain instantly triggers an emotional defense response: anger. It is crucial to pause here. Buddhist meditation practice is the most concrete training for generating this momentary gap. When something infuriating happens, instead of immediately reacting, consciously and quietly label the feeling in your mind: "Oh, I feel a hot emotion rising now." Then, take 3 conscious, deep breaths in and out. This act of intentional breathing serves as an anchor, pulling your awareness, which is about to be swept away by the emotional wave, back to the present moment, back to physical reality. This brief, 3-breath gap is the sacred space where you can make the choice, like Vima learned from the sage, to not accept the poisonous gift. Next is the practice of insight, or deep reflection, on the source of the anger. When you feel anger, don't just focus on the perpetrator's actions. Ask yourself, why am I reacting so strongly to this? What attachment of mine has been triggered? Is it a desire for recognition? Or is it a fixed idea that I should always be treated fairly? Through this process of self-inquiry, we begin to understand that the other person's disrespectful behavior is often a mirror, reflecting our own unfulfilled expectations. As the focus shifts from the other person to our own inner life, the anger transforms into constructive self-exploration. Furthermore, as a practical step, incorporate metta-loving kindness meditation. This does not require you to instantly feel love or forgiveness for the person who slighted you. That is unrealistic. Instead, practice directing your attention toward the suffering that lies behind their actions. Most unkind behavior is born out of the other person's own fear, insecurity, or unresolved past pain. They, too, are caught in a form of suffering. Just like the landowner who insulted Vima, silently wished them well, this person is also suffering. May this person be free from their suffering. This compassionate gaze creates an emotional detachment between you and the aggressor, stopping you from interpreting their behavior as a personal attack. This practice is the act of pouring the quiet water of compassion onto the fire of anger, rather than feeding it with fuel. When you integrate these concrete steps into your daily life, the effect is immense. You are no longer allowing the external events, the others, to dictate your emotional state. Anger may still arise, but you will recognize it as a passing cloud, a temporary phenomenon that is not allowed to take root in your mind. This profound peace is the truest form of self-respect, and it is the greatest gift the Buddhist teachings offer to the modern world. Throughout this video, we have seen how the Buddhist teachings offer a concrete and practical solution to modern anger and suffering. The rage that sits in your heart is a poisonous gift thrown by another, and unless you accept it, it remains with them and cannot disturb your peace. The key to practicing this wisdom is to create a conscious space between the event and your reaction, to gain insight into your own attachments that fuel the anger, and to offer a compassionate perspective toward the suffering of the other. You no longer need to surrender your emotional sovereignty to the behavior of others. Your feelings are born only within your own mind. Starting today, practice this teaching and protect the sanctuary of your heart. Do not let past events or others' actions control your present day or your future happiness. You are the most powerful being, the one who can choose inner peace right now, at this very moment. I sincerely wish you freedom from suffering and unshakable tranquility. If this story resonated with you and provided some insights or learning, I'd be delighted if you could press the like button. Also, if you subscribe to the channel, I'll be able to continue sharing various life wisdom and lessons with you. Please share your experiences and thoughts in the comments section as well. Each person's experience becomes valuable learning for other viewers. Thank you so much for watching this video to the end today. I look forward to meeting you all again in the next video.